Tell me if this sounds familiar. Sometime in the last kind of 10 years, 15 years, you've had what you would call a spiritual awakening. Might have even had another one before that, sometime before that, but you probably had another one in the last 10 or 15 years. And as a result of the first one, but no doubt the second one, you jumped on the spiritual horse and you started learning. You've started engaging. You're, of course, on Facebook because you're watching this, doing workshops, probably watching 1 or 2 million YouTube videos, learning from whoever you can about your spirituality and about your spiritual path, your divine self, and all that makes you more than what you think you are and what you thought you were before. And we know that there is no shortage of areas to learn from and people to learn from and things to do. And potentially you did a whole bunch of those things. You might have learnt some modalities, you might have done your Reiki, you might have done some other stuff, you probably dipped your toe in yoga, had a crack at meditation, done the kind of spiritual circuit thing, done the usual business thing. You might have tried to do some consulting and try to earn some money from the work that you're doing, all that. It's all pretty common, and if you're watching this video you probably know what I'm referring to. It's white spirituality. It's Western spirituality. It's the Namaste kind of circuit. And if you're with me so far, and if all of this kind of sounds familiar, you may also be aware that probably closer to date, when you first started and had this awakening and really got on this path, it's probably a bit different and a little more cool now than it was back in the day. And when I look around the landscape of the spiritual circuit and the spiritual field, it's quiet. And I would hazard a guess that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who at some point would have included themselves quite willingly and passionately in the spirituality field and in the spiritual community have kind of hit the end of the road of that and of really wanting to self-refer and wanting to be a part of that. Because over time the modalities just got a bit boring. The income never really came from the work. The personal development learnings came. We learn more about our bodies, our health, our relationships, our goals, all of those things. But I mean, on a day-to-day basis, we're still a bit of a wreck. Things are still a bit of a mess. It's all still a bit loose. The universe isn't quite coming through as a finely tuned machine of manifestation in our lives, and we've sort of given up on fine-tuning the answer as to why it's not doing that. And so now we're just getting on with it, still sprouting about the universe and all of those things, but really showing no evidence in our lives that the universe is conspiring for our highest good. And in truth, we kind of feel that and we know that. And a lot of people have hit this plateau of spirituality and spiritual development and personal development in these kind of fields, and there really is an end to the modalities. There's an end to the practices and the paradigms, beliefs, frameworks, all of that sort of stuff. You do get sort of full of all of it after a time when you do enough of it, because you realize the similarities in so much of it. Energy work, for example, means 1,000 different things. Meditation means 1,000 different things. All of these things mean different things, but eventually you realize that they all kind of mean the same thing. And you do get a bit bored of it. You just don't keep it up. And you say that, life kind of gets in the way, and family and work and other responsibilities prevent you from doing your Reiki business or from meditating every day or whatever, and we blame like the practical life, but it's not the practical life that took over in any sense. It really is our passion and our focus for our spiritual practice. That's what waned first. It's not that we couldn't keep a balance, it's that we didn't feel motivated enough to maintain and anchor that practice in our life because it just didn't have legs. And I would talk about that just for a moment, because more and more and more people are hitting this glass ceiling of the spirituality industry and spirituality field and wondering what to do, or having been wondering what to do for so long now, just sort of came back to non-spiritual and material practice, waiting for the next thing to come that never really came. Because I can tell you that there is such a thing as the glass ceiling of spirituality. At some point in your spiritual development, in your personal development, in connecting to spirit and the sacred self, there really is going to be an end to the way you can explore that. And believe me, it is a wide and long path, but there is an end to the path in the form that it takes. And this is where so many of us get to, and then kind of wait for the next phoenix moment in our life to propel us into the new learning, the new lesson. But often that doesn't come for people, and people aren't quite sure what to do at the end of the spirituality seeking. We have done everything that we see that people can offer us and the world can offer us, but it didn't hit the spot after all of that, and we're still meditating and doing the business, but it's not really hitting the spot, and we do wonder why. And there's kind of a solution, there's kind of an answer to that, but it's not actually found within the way of currently looking, and that's in part the problem, because we're so used to knowing spirituality and knowing what that means and translating the external world's version of spirit from the outside onto ourselves, that it's not really authentic in who and what we are and what we need and what healing really looks like and what true transformation really looks like. At the end of the day, as we come back to a divine human and a divine being, healing is profoundly more than laying on of hands. It's really nothing to do with energy work. It's nothing to do with techniques or training or modalities or any of that. It's real and raw. It's like a whole lot of other practices. We really come back to the kind of the reality of that and start to de-armor the detail and the complication. But at the very heart of all of that, the thing that we're missing in spirituality, and the reason why we just run out of steam, that we run out of fuel within the field as it presents to us now, is because spirituality is missing something at its core. It's missing something absolutely key that keeps the spiritual field hollow and somewhat limited, and therefore your capacity to gain what you truly want from it being somewhat limited. And the thing that spirituality is missing is God. God. Not the universe. Not source of all that is. Not the creator. Not any of those things. Spirituality is missing God. And it's true. You know spirituality is missing God because God lives in religion. And spirituality makes a point of defining itself from religion, whether it knows it or not, and does not like using any of the words, terms or references that religion feels so comfortable in using. And the problem is that God doesn't belong to religion. God has been hijacked by religion to where anyone who is not religious or doesn't identify with religion cannot see a way into accessing God independently, or a reason for accessing God independently, because I have the universe. Let me tell you about the universe. There's a reason why spirituality calls the universe as the source of all that is, while religion names God. The universe is inherently benign. There is nothing personal or accountable about the universe. There is nothing inherently contextual about the universe. It doesn't mean anything. The universe might as well be referred to as cosmos. It is on purpose a confusing and misleading term, because to use the word God and to refer to God directly rather than some benign third party source of accountability means something wholly different. And to introduce God into one's life beyond all associations of religion, everything that you think God means, as told to you by Christianity, by religion, by the Bible, by doctrine, by all of those things, to be able to find God and to build a relationship with God in spite of all of those things and well outside of all of those things is the key to your spiritual evolution. It is the key to phoenixing and transforming from this spiritual plateau and through this glass ceiling onto the next phase of your spiritual development. The next phase of spiritual development must include God at the center and be God-centric, where up until now your spiritual path has been you-centric. You have been the creator of your stuff. You're the one doing it. You're the one in charge and the captain of all things. But you've hit an end to that. There's a reason why your spirituality really has hit the end of the road. And because the end of the road is the road of you. It's the road where you're doing it and you think it's all about you and spirit is centric to you. Moving beyond that, it is then God-centric. And when God is the center of your life, a living, vibrant, real, relational, passionate, God-based relationship within your heart that is true as any relationship in your life, it is wholly fulfilling and wholly different in a way that spirituality has never been able to give to you. Nothing that it gives you is wholly alive and wholly fulfilling. It is not relational, it is all learning, it's all conceptual, it's all stuff to do and translating beliefs and paradigms into a doing thing to make you look a certain way. None of those things have anything to do with having a relationship to God. And the best bit is you can have a relationship to God and not have any of those things. But the interesting thing is once you start dropping that stuff and you do come back to God alone, God plus nothing, you'll find that stuff transforms before your eyes. And so much of it you don't even want to do anymore. It's not even interesting or relevant. And so much more of it is retranslated before you in a way that takes on a new light and a new quality of holiness that you have never experienced before, and God brings that to your life. You will recognize prayer in a way that you've never recognized prayer, that you thought prayer was religious or prayer was asking for something, and prayer has nothing to do with that. You'll come to understand a whole range of other things that are in the field of God, let's say, not in the field of religion, and they cross over beautifully from spirituality. There's so much more to do once you allow God into your life and bring God into the center of your life and take yourself out of it. That is what the next step of your spiritual path and your spiritual evolution look like. And God is the key, not religion. I would really encourage you, if you have hit this plateau in your spiritual path and you really are bored while calling yourself a spiritual person, maybe even still doing some spiritual practice, I would encourage you to take that leap into the next stage of your spiritual growth and to start looking for and seeking for a direct and personal relationship with God directly in your life. That is not a hard thing to do, and there are wonderful resources, very user-friendly resources, all in the same places that you're looking for, your spiritual resources that will start to assist you in bridging your heart towards God outside of the church and outside of the Bible. A Course in Miracles is by far one of the most wonderful resources I would recommend to you. The teachings of White Eagle are another. Anything by Tolle and the Power of Now, and some wonderful stuff on YouTube, anything by Muji. There are some fantastic teachers and fantastic resources that explain and talk about it, what God is and how God is a part of all that we do and all that we are, and God as a living fiery relationship, not as a benign concept that we refer to at our convenience and at our leisure. It really is quite different, and I would encourage you to recognize that now is the time for God's presence to be known in your life and in your heart, for God's presence to take over your actions and to take over your life. in a way that is for your higher good, that you don't always know and that you don't have to do. You are not going to achieve that through your spiritual practices. Your spiritual practices may give you some temporary relief or temporary fruit, but they will not define you as anything that will keep you happy till the end of time. They will not make your life a particular way according to your values and keep it that way. Only God will transform your life and your awareness from your heart out. That does not require your particular effort. That's the beauty of it. There's so much more to your spiritual path. There's so much more to yourself and to know yourself. And it starts with humanity, and it starts with God. God outside of the Bible, God outside of the church. God bless us. I would encourage us all to open. Amen.